everyone. My name is Lynn Hernandez, and I'm with the Desmoid Tumor Research Foundation. Welcome to an integrative approach to health and well-being, featuring Jessica Clark, who is actually a member of the Desmoid tumor patient community. This event aims to help the patient evaluate their own strengths and areas for improvement so that they can make changes or take action in a way that aligns with their own health and wellness priorities. Before we get started, and before I introduce Jessie, I have a few instructions for you for our time together. So we welcome questions via the Q&A. Now you'll see at the bottom of your screen, there will be a small Q&A icon. So if you have a question for Jessica, just share it in that Q&A and she'll try to get to it at the end of her presentation. Also, you'll see that the chat function is open for your use to communicate with community members. Please note that this is going to be completely unmonitored. If you want to share your own personal experience, please feel free to post it there. We will not be monitoring that chat and we won't be answering questions in that chat. So make sure you address all your questions in the Q&A. So here we go. So I'd like to introduce you to Jessica Clark. She actually goes by Jessie, so that's what we'll call her today. Jessie is a registered nurse and a Duke University certified integrative health coach from Virginia. She's been part of the Desmoid community since 2014 when she first discovered a desmoid tumor in her upper back. Jessie's experience on the patient side of healthcare ignited her passion for integrative health, especially in the context of chronic and complex diseases. She specializes in behavior change and works with individuals to improve their health through holistic, lifestyle-based approaches. Her focus is on working with young adults, new parents, and those with desmoid tumors and other chronic illnesses. Welcome, Jessie.
Thank you, Lynn, for that intro. And thank you to the DTRF team for all you've done to make this event possible. Hi, everyone, I'm Jessie. I'll be sharing some of the information, ideas, and resources that I found helpful in both my work and throughout my own desmoid journey. We'll be exploring a variety of lifestyle factors that influence well-being, as well as strategies to create habit changes. So to reiterate Lynn's disclaimer, this content is just for informational purposes. It's not medical advice, and it may not apply to your specific circumstances. A bit about me. I live in Virginia with my husband and 2 kids. In 2014, I found a desmoid tumor in my back at age 27. Over the course of 4 years, it continued to grow very large, involving my spine, neck, ribs, right shoulder, and arm. It didn't respond to estrogen blocking meds, NSAIDs, sorafenib, and a variety of non-conventional treatments that I tried. In 2018, I received proton radiation at Massachusetts General Hospital, and the tumor shrank significantly the following year and has been stable since then. So as you all know, the desmoid journey can come with a lot of losses. It's a difficult and sometimes isolating diagnosis. But one of the gifts of this experience is that it prompted me to prioritize taking care of myself for the first time in my adult life. I explored many healing avenues, both conventional and alternative, and made lots of lifestyle changes. And through trial and error, I found the practices that worked best for me. This integrative approach to well-being enhanced my quality of life while navigating the desmoid diagnosis. So through my experiences as both a nurse and a patient, I became increasingly aware of the need for a more holistic, individualized approach in healthcare. This led me to study health coaching at Duke Integrative Medicine and open my own coaching practice, Align Integrative Health. So I partner with clients to combine self-care habits, intuition, and appropriate medical interventions in order to address root cause of disease and to improve well-being. A healthy lifestyle can boost the body's innate healing abilities, enhance receptivity to medical treatments, decrease unwanted side effects, and increase quality of life along the way. Combining lifestyle practices with supporting medical treatments promotes resilience and gives individuals more control over their own well-being. So we'll be taking a look at the many interconnected factors that influence well-being through the lens of Duke's Wheel of Health. I'll briefly highlight each area and provide some tips I've found helpful for myself and for my clients over the years. You can find more information and support regarding each of these areas in the resources document that you'll receive following the webinar. Please keep in mind, each person is unique, and what works for some people won't work for others. I encourage you to see this exploration as a reminder of how much power you have in your life, despite a difficult diagnosis. We all have lots of room for growth and change, and I don't want that to discourage you. Creating healthy habits is an ongoing journey with lots of obstacles and barriers along the way. But by open-heartedly and non-judgmentally evaluating our lifestyles, we gain more insight into how to create the conditions that we need to thrive. Even with chronic and complex health conditions, there's a lot that we can do to feel better along the way and to give our bodies the best shot at healing. As I touch on the various areas of the Wheel of Health, make a note of one or two places you might want to make a change in. And at the end, I'll discuss how to move toward desired changes in a way that aligns with your values. First, I want to briefly review the different approaches to healthcare. Conventional medicine, also known as Western, mainstream, or allopathic medicine, is the kind of healthcare you get from most doctors and hospitals in the United States, and includes prescription medicine, diagnostic and preventative exams, surgery, radiation, and physical therapy. Complementary medicine is used in addition to conventional healthcare. These approaches may include acupuncture, massage, herbal medicine, nutrition, mind-body exercises, and many others. Alternative medicine is used instead of standard treatments and may include Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine, and naturopathic medicine. And integrative medicine brings together lifestyle practices, conventional medicine, complementary, and alternative modalities according to the unique needs and values of each individual. So looking at the Wheel of Health, you're at the center because you're the expert of your own life. Your values, goals, and priorities help to determine the course of your life. Self-awareness is central to making change. Our intuition is a valuable source of information about what we really need, especially when making decisions about our health and medical care. Self-love is the choice to understand, befriend, and take care of ourselves. It's choosing to see oneself as clearly as possible, flaws and all, and still offer compassion and kindness. It really is true that we can only love others to the extent that we love ourselves. So how do we befriend ourselves? We can say what we really mean without justifying or apologizing. We can stop putting ourselves down and stop taking ourselves so seriously. We can embrace good enough over perfect. We can listen to our gut, noticing and honoring the physical reactions in our bodies with any given situation or decision. We can set boundaries and uphold the commitments we make to ourselves. We can incorporate play into our lives, making time for the things that bring us into the moment, that don't have an end goal, and that reconnect us with a sense of curiosity, wonder, and fun. We can also use the small personal care moments of our days to be nurturing toward ourselves. Bathing, brushing teeth or hair, getting dressed, putting on lotion, all provide little moments to be kind and gentle. Caring for ourselves in these ways communicates to our minds and bodies that we are valuable, safe, and loved. When you're unsure of what to do in a situation, asking the questions at the bottom of this slide can help you tune into your intuition. What would I tell my best friend? And what would the wisest, most loving version of myself tell me to do? So I'm a collector of quotes, and I've put some that I like throughout the slides. I think this one from Robin Downs is a helpful way of thinking about self-care. Self-care is not about adding another thing to your to-do list. It's a way that you ground yourself so that you can be here and feel good. That's how you stay out of the burnout trap altogether. Relish in your rituals. So notice that mindful awareness is also central in the Wheel of Health, encircling you. Mindful awareness is being fully aware and tuned into what is happening here and now. It's being present. Paying attention to the present moment without judging it enhances all areas of our lives. Mindfulness has been found to reduce stress, to boost the immune system, and improve brain function. Mindful awareness is key to any behavior change because when we bring our attention to the present, we can choose to respond intentionally rather than thoughtlessly react. When we're mindful, our senses are engaged and we're aware of what's going on, both externally and internally. This heightened awareness allows us to tune into what our bodies need at that moment. Mindfulness practices include meditation, breathing techniques, progressive muscle relaxation, and body scans. These practices can improve our ability to be more present in our daily activities. The daily experiences of waking up, eating, walking, breathing all provide opportunities to be more mindful. Breath is our most readily available tool to recenter and to create space between an event and our response. I've personally found it helpful to bring more mindfulness into the moments when I first wake up. Instead of picking up my phone or jumping right into the busyness of the day, I found that pausing for a few moments to breathe and welcome the new day has a major impact on my mindset. When we shift to the observer of our lives, we become less attached to our own thoughts and feelings. We can notice thoughts passing by like clouds without letting them control us. We don't have to hold on to or believe everything we think. Same with feelings. We can notice and allow feelings to come and go like waves. Feelings are experiences we have. They are not our identity and they are not permanent. So instead of saying, I am sad, we could shift to saying, I feel sad or I'm experiencing sadness. When we're mindful, we notice more things. We become more aware of both pleasure and pain. When you begin to notice painful sensations or emotions, see if you can hold yourself with compassion and continue to bring curiosity to the experience. By practicing staying present with pain, you can learn to separate pain from fear. And when fear is removed from the experience of pain, you may discover that you have more capacity to tolerate it. We don't always need to be present with pain. That can be overwhelming. Often it's helpful to escape pain by reminiscing on good memories or focusing on future place and time. But learning to be present with difficult experiences can also enhance our ability to fully experience the pleasant moments. The more we ground ourselves in the present, the more fully we can experience being alive. When we have major stressors in our lives, like a desmoid tumor, it's easy to live in the future. And sometimes we do need to focus on the future or revisit the past. Just be careful not to postpone happiness, thinking it's on the other side of what you're facing. Happiness can only be experienced in the present moment. Mindfulness brings us back to the present and allows us to live with more intention. Presence allows us to live with fewer regrets, to create more memories, and to close each chapter of our lives with more satisfaction. It's one of the most empowering and liberating skills we can learn. Next, I want to point out the outer circle of the Wheel of Health. Community includes all of our interactions and the social network around us. Our community impacts every area of our lives. Connection, kindness, and service have all been shown to positively impact well-being. The Harvard study of adult development is an ongoing 80+ year study where researchers have tracked nearly every metric of well-being to find what makes people flourish. They found that having quality relationships is the primary predictor of our happiness, health span, and longevity. I've included a link to Robert Boldinger's TED Talk about this study and the resources. It's definitely worth a listen. According to this study, it's not the quantity, but the quality of relationships that's most important to our well-being. By honestly evaluating our relationships, we can invest in positive connections and minimize the ones that bring us down. Setting healthy boundaries helps us to maintain quality relationships. We teach people how to treat us. And the way we treat others should be based on who we are, not on how they behave. Also, it's important to note that there's a big difference between loneliness and solitude. While loneliness can be detrimental to health, solitude can be restorative. I want to remind you to be vulnerable enough to lean on others when you're struggling. This can be hard to do, but people want to help. Give them the opportunity. Generosity benefits both the giver and the receiver. Be specific with your requests. Often people don't know how they can help. And this is a big one. Practice receiving without feeling indebted. Because the Desmoid journey tends to be complex and lengthy, it can be helpful to build an integrative team to support your changing and diverse health needs. You can start by asking your doctor, a caseworker, or a social worker what integrative resources are available at your hospital and in your locality. More hospitals are incorporating complementary care into their systems nowadays. Your health department may be able to connect you with various local resources. Other patients and friends may be able to give recommendations as well. The Desmoidian Facebook group is a wonderful way to connect with other patients and share ideas. And in the resource document, I've linked some other tools and ways to find integrative care. And I also encourage you to check out DTRF's patient resource page. So now we'll look at nutrition and lifestyle. Lifestyle is a vague term. It includes all of our regular routines and habits. There's a link in the resources to the Blue Zones website that identifies the lifestyle commonalities of the communities around the world with the longest lifespans. Our dietary choices are part of our lifestyle. There's controversy around what constitutes a healthy diet, partly because there's no one size fits all, and because nutrition research is lacking and difficult to do. However, this dietary motto is largely applicable to most people. Eat whole foods, mostly plants, not too much. Harvard MyPlate offers this useful nutrition guide. Notice that vegetables take up the largest portion of the plate, and really that's the minimum. The more veggies and the more variety, the better. Also notice that healthy oils is a category. The less processed a food is, the better it is for you. So when it comes to healthy fats, focus on the whole food forms, such as olives, avocados, nuts, seeds, eggs, and fatty fish. One other thing I want to note is that when it comes to protein, beans are an excellent option for most people. Beans are also loaded with fiber, vitamins, and minerals, and it's been found that the cultures that incorporate the most beans in their diets also have the lowest rates of colon cancer. Some people find strict food rules helpful, but many find that having some foods off limits makes those foods more enticing and ends up draining mental energy. So instead of forbidding unhealthy foods, I found many people are more successful and less stressed by just incorporating more healthy foods. This is the concept of crowding out. By giving your body plenty of nutritious foods, you may naturally lose interest in the less healthy foods. I've personally found a workable balance by keeping mostly whole foods at home, but when I'm enjoying a social event or a special occasion, I eat whatever is there that I feel like eating. So nutrition isn't just about what we eat, but our body's ability to digest and absorb the nutrients. A healthy and diverse gut microbiome plays a key role in a well-functioning digestive system. Mindful awareness can also improve digestion. Mindfulness allows us to be more intentional about our dietary choices. Before eating, take a moment to recenter, relax, breathe, and check in with yourself. Our emotional state and our stress levels impact our digestion, so it's best not to eat while you're anxious or upset. Elimination also plays a critical role in our digestive and overall health. Bowel movements should be regular, complete, and easy. I've included a lot of information about this in the resources on digestion and on elimination. And I've briefly nested dental health under nutrition, in addition to the daily habits of brushing, flossing, tongue scraping, staying hydrated, and breathing through our nose fosters good dental health. Also, if you have mouth sores from chemo, some people find oil pulling helpful. There's a link with more information in the resources. Physical activity and fitness. Physical activity refers to the physical movement of our body, and fitness is the outcome of being physically active. It's really important to incorporate movement into your life in a way that meets your individual needs and is enjoyable. People vary in the amount and type of exercise they need, depending on their personal makeup and stage of life. So I encourage you to listen to your intuition on what type and amount of movement your body is asking for. It can vary day to day, especially with the ups and downs of a healing process. For women, this also varies depending on the phase of their menstrual cycle. And just like a varied diet is recommended, it's recommended to change up your exercises, incorporating a mix of cardio, strength, flexibility, and balance. Strength training is especially important with age to prevent falls and injuries and to speed recovery times. Muscle mass has been shown to have a significant positive correlation with health span. Muscles are energy reserves. So if you struggle with low energy, you may find that building muscle will help boost your energy. You don't have to go to a gym to experience the benefits of exercise. I encourage you to experiment with adding in movement throughout your daily life. So walk places, stretch while you're watching a show, stand on one leg while you're waiting in line. Notice your posture while sitting and standing. Good posture increases lung capacity, boosts confidence, and strengthens back muscles. Walking can have significant benefits, and walking also presents an opportunity to stack habits, meaning you can combine the benefits of physical activity, time in nature, sunshine, and community when you're walking. Walking after meals improves gut motility and reduces blood sugar spikes. Just remember that some activity is better than no activity at all. Significant benefits can be gained from just 10 to 15 minutes of movement per day. You could start with putting on a favorite song in the morning and just moving and stretching for the duration of one song. And then try adding in another song in the middle or end of your day. I encourage you to find ways of movement that are fun and invigorating so that you stay interested and motivated. Don't move as means to an end. Move because it feels good to experience what your body can do. Rest and recovery are essential, often overlooked part of fitness. People forget this. More exercise isn't necessarily better. Overtraining can increase inflammation, impede muscle gains, and decrease immune function. So get plenty of rest and rotate exercises to prevent overuse injuries and give your muscles time to repair. Also ensure adequate protein and nutrition to build and maintain muscles. On that note, let's look at sleep and rest, which are foundational to health. Sleep may be the most undervalued medicine. Quality sleep promotes healing and recovery, muscle repair and growth, learning and memory retention, hormonal balance, emotional regulation, and boosts our immune function. It's recommended that adults get between 7 and 9 hours of sleep per night, potentially more when healing. Inadequate sleep can lead to many chronic diseases as well as heightened perception of pain. So if you're struggling with sleep, I encourage you to explore and implement sleep hygiene practices. And if you already have implemented healthy sleep habits and you're still struggling to get quality sleep, it may be helpful to consult with a sleep specialist, perhaps a pain specialist if pain is a factor. There are links in the resources with more information on sleep and sleep hygiene. I do want to point out a couple tips that often get overlooked. Our circadian rhythm wants to sync with the rhythms of nature. So we can boost our body's melatonin production by getting morning sunlight and by reducing artificial light in the evenings. Sometimes we can't sleep at night because we haven't had adequate time during the day for our minds to process events and feelings. So I encourage you to try to create more mental white space throughout your day where you're not taking in other content and information. Some people find it helpful to schedule a window of worry time during their day to process their stressors, and then they can let their minds power down at night. I've personally found an evening bath to be one of the best ways for my mind and body to unwind before bed. A bath is another place where you can stack healthy habits. You can get the physical benefits of warmth. You can add Epsom salt for aching muscles. And a bath provides a window of mental white space to think and to feel. I struggled with fatigue for a very long time, and I found this quote a helpful reminder along the way. If you get tired, learn to rest, not to quit. So our overall health can be enhanced by improving the places where we spend the most time. Our physical environment can feel like an overwhelming area to address because there are so many different factors at play, and some are outside of our control. So when it comes to making changes to your surroundings, start with one shift at a time in the places that you do have control over. There's more information about this topic and details and resources, but there's a few areas I want to briefly point out while we're here. Make your living space functional and supportive of the healthy habits that you want in your life. Sometimes that might mean getting rid of extra stuff. For example, if you don't have space in your home to move and to stretch, maybe you could get rid of the coffee table in the middle of the living room. Or you could add a pull-up bar to your doorway or a yoga swing on your porch. Or you could create a space in your house that's calming and personally restorative for you to unwind. I encourage you to be mindful of chemical exposures in air, water, food, cleaning, and personal care products. And try to incorporate nature into your daily life as much as possible. Time in nature has been shown to decrease stress and inflammation, and exposure to sunlight can boost both our mood and vitamin D levels. The mind-body connection is powerful. Our mental health impacts our physical health and vice versa. So I encourage you to check out DTRF's webinar series if you haven't yet. It's Dealing with Desmoids, Mental Health Tools for the Desmoid Patient with Ashley Williams. It's a fantastic resource. I've personally found counseling to be supportive during difficult chapters of my life. I'm not a mental health professional, but I would like to share a few of the ideas I've personally found helpful along the way. I found this quote from School of Life thought-provoking. Mental well-being is feeling what we actually feel as close as possible to the moment we actually feel it, and then being able to express our state of mind either to ourselves or to another without shame or significant distortion. It's so important that we learn to recognize our feelings. Emotions are valuable data. They show us what's important to us. Identifying and understanding our emotions allows us to learn and grow from them rather than being subject to them. Avoided emotions can be subconscious drivers in our lives, and unaddressed inner turmoil can manifest physically. It can be particularly helpful to uncover and articulate our fears. It's absolutely okay and normal to feel afraid or anxious, especially when facing loss, pain, and uncertainty. But often the simple act of articulating our fears can lessen their grip on us. And then we can decide what's within our ability to affect and stop trying to control what's not. Sometimes adjusting our expectations can work wonders on our mental health. A lot of our distress comes from unrealistic ideas about how life should go. When we accept that it is normal for life to be difficult, we won't get as upset when tragedy strikes, when plans fall apart, relationships hurt, when our bodies age, or when we mess up and make a fool of ourselves. That's all to be expected. We can experience more calm when we flow with rather than resist these changes. Joy. I had to make this aside because this is one of the most vulnerable emotions. And sometimes we don't let ourselves fully experience joy because we don't want to experience the disappointment of it subsiding. So I just want to encourage you to allow yourself to feel joy and hope, despite the possibility of disappointment and loss. And just as a quick reminder, forgiveness is one of the most powerful steps we can take toward inner healing and personal freedom, forgiving both ourselves and others. I love this quote from Mark Twain: "Anger is an acid that can do more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than to anything on which it is poured." Expressive writing is a simple, readily available way to take care of our mental health. It's free therapy. Writing can help us to understand ourselves, to cope with our emotions, and to find clarity on how to move forward. So there's several therapeutic journaling types. There's free flow of thought and ideas. There's gratitude and celebration. There's meditative, which is focused around a specific topic. And there's journaling to release difficult emotions, such as anxiety and fear, grief and loss, and anger. There's a journaling guide in the resources that has a morning and an evening practice. I encourage you to try it out. Having a sense of purpose and meaning gives us reason to keep going. Purpose often changes in different chapters of our lives and can even be fluid day to day. Fulfillment comes from living in alignment with what we value. Fulfillment can come from our work, volunteering, hobbies, caring for our families and friends, connecting with nature, and spiritual pursuits. People tend to find the most fulfillment when they act in a way that improves life for others, even in small ways. So the questions on this slide may help bring clarity around what gives you a sense of purpose and fulfillment. What makes life worth living for you? That's your sense of meaning. What do you want most for your life? That's your vision. What's most important to you? Those are your values. When do you feel most alive? That's your sense of vitality. And how can you live in a way that honors all life? That's your connection and legacy. Death is the ultimate teacher and illuminator of what's most important to us. Impermanence makes life precious and worth savoring. So I encourage you to go ahead and look death in the eye and fully consider it. Doing so will ultimately be freeing. Ask yourself what you need to feel fulfilled enough so that when the time comes, you can let go with more peace and contentment. When we consider death honestly, our fundamental values and desires become clear. Then we can plan accordingly and live with less fear and more purpose. Okay, so we've touched on the various areas of the Wheel of Health. You don't have to be strong in all of these to be well. Instead of spokes on a wheel, it may be more helpful to think of these different areas as pillars. If there are a few strong ones in the right places, the building can still stand. And even if we are strong in all these areas, that doesn't make us immune to illness and aging. Many things in life are outside of our control. But a strong foundation does provide some protection and resilience and improves our quality of life. A healthy lifestyle is determined by our habits and our ability to make changes along the way. So let's explore the process of change when it comes to building new lifestyle habits. First, it's essential to clarify your vision and values because they are the foundation on which to build any lasting change. The ultimate goal isn't health, it's what you want to do with it. Then assess where you're currently at compared to where you want to be. Pick a focus area, create a SMART goal, make a plan, take it one small step at a time, and then maintain and stack your habits. Following this webinar, you should be receiving 2 documents that you can use to help create change in your life. You'll receive Duke's personal health inventory and the goal planning guide. So the first part of the personal health inventory is articulating your vision. Your vision is what you want in life. When doing this step, it's important that you allow yourself enough time and freedom to really unleash your imagination and see what comes up for you. Indulge in the vision of your life that feels most inspiring and exciting. How would you love your life to play out moving forward? Enjoy the process and don't hold back. Let go of ideas about what you should want for your life or what you think is reasonable to want. We tend to prevent ourselves from fully exploring and articulating what we really desire for fear that it will be overindulgent or that it will leave us feeling disappointed with our lives. Don't worry about that when you're visioning. This process is critical to fully know yourself, to recognize your unspoken desires, and to understand the driving forces in your life. The next step in the change process is identifying your core values, what's most important to you. When you know the type of person that you want to be and what you deeply care about in life, it becomes easier to make decisions about what you will and won't do. Connecting with our values also reminds us that we are bigger than a diagnosis. Values can be an anchor in times of upheaval. So to clarify your values, consider what stood out most to you from the previous visioning exercise. What did you notice about yourself? What themes emerged? What's most important to you in that vision? And to really bring clarity around your values, it can be useful to imagine you're at the end of your life, looking back over your life story. From this vantage point, consider what brings a smile to your face. What are you most proud of? What impact do you want to leave behind? What would be necessary for you to feel a sense of satisfaction with your life? What values would you like to have defined your life? The next step is honestly assessing where you are now compared to where you want to be in each area of the Wheel of Health. The personal health inventory provides a framework for this exploration. And then you can pick one area that you want to focus on. You should be able to clearly identify why this focus is important to you and how it's linked to your overall vision. You'll be most successful if you pick a focus that you feel both excited about and confident in your ability to change. Sustainable change comes from creating habits that are ultimately more rewarding than the habits that we're replacing. This quote from Love is Medicine Project provides a useful perspective on readiness for change. Readiness is when action in the direction of change feels like relief relative to stasis. It's the moment when continuing to do what you've been doing hurts too much, and moving in the direction of change feels better. So with your focus in mind, then use the goal planning guide to create a SMART goal and a step-by-step plan. I imagine you are familiar with SMART goals. A goal should be clear and concise in order to measure progress and success. It should be measurable and have clear criteria for tracking progress so that you stay motivated. A goal should be Action-oriented, it should have a specific action that's within your direct control. It should be realistic given your circumstances and your personal strengths. And a goal should have a timeline. Generally, a good time frame is 3 to 6 months out. Then create a plan, break down your goal into small steps, and lay those out in a timeline. It's most effective to keep each step small enough so that you feel motivated and confident rather than overwhelmed. For example, rather than starting with a complete diet overhaul, you could just replace soda with water and see what you notice. Some people experience significant weight loss benefits just from that one shift. When you're trying to create a plan, anticipate any possible barriers that may arise and then create backup plans for those. So, for example, if you've decided to walk every day after dinner, what will you do if it's raining? Also consider what type of accountability you might need to stay motivated. In the resources document, there's a link to Gretchen Rubin's 4 Tendencies quiz, which can provide insight regarding how you respond to both inner and outer expectations. That knowledge can help determine what type of accountability best motivates you. Some of my clients are obligers, meaning that they tend to uphold the expectations of others, but struggle to uphold inner expectations. So these clients are more likely to meet their goals if they commit to a lifestyle change with another person. So as you can see, there's some important groundwork to lay prior to taking action that will set you up to be successful. As you take each step, be present and enjoy the process. Don't just focus on the desired outcome. Acknowledge and celebrate small wins all along the way. Celebrate progress, not perfection. Forming a habit is key to lasting changes. Once a habit is established, you can build on that. For example, a person who establishes a habit of starting their day off with a walk is more likely to see the long-term outcomes they want than if they committed to running a marathon. Expect barriers and setbacks along the way. When you get off track, don't criticize yourself or give up. Learn, adjust plans as necessary, and take the next small step forward. You'll need to set boundaries around the practices that you want in your life. It takes intention and assertiveness to protect your vision. In order to focus on what you most want, you're going to have to get really comfortable saying no to many other things, often good things. It can be helpful to ask your family and friends to help you honor your boundaries. Explain to them what you're doing, why it's important to you, and ask them to help you stick with your goals and stay motivated. And stacking habits is simply adding a new behavior to your life by pairing it with an existing habit. So this basically tricks your mind into adopting a new habit by using an existing neural pathway. For example, you could practice mindfulness when you're brushing your teeth, or cook dinner with your family and stack nutrition habits with quality connection. Or you could leave a bottle of water by your door every day that you drink on your way to work or on your drive to the store. When you're in the maintenance stage, continue to link your actions back to your values. This statement is a helpful tool to do that. I choose to insert specific behavior because I'm the type of person who, and then you insert your vision and value. So you may say, I choose to go to bed by 10 because I'm the type of person who has enough energy to play with my kids. Or I choose to walk with my family after dinner because I'm the type of person who values connection and fitness. So the mind-body connection is powerful. Our bodies tend to respond to our subconscious beliefs. Focus on what you like about your body and on all the things it can still do. My shoulder is partially dislocated because of the tumor, which limits some of the physical activities that I love to do. But rather than getting too hung up on my limitations, I've learned to put my attention on the things that I can do and to enjoy new things. Focus on what you like about your life and prioritize the things that make life worth living for you. Focus on your wellness instead of your illness. So you should be receiving links to these 3 resources tomorrow. I hope you find them helpful. If you need any help navigating or accessing these documents, please reach out. My email and website is listed on this page and in the resources document. You can also find me in the Desmoidian group on Facebook. If you have any questions or if I can support you in any way, please don't hesitate to contact me. All right, Len, I'm turning it back over to you to see if we have any questions that may have come up.
Okay. Okay, I think everybody should be able to see us both now. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, Lynn.
You can hear me? Okay, great, because I just put my headset on. Okay, so let's see. We did have a couple questions, but before we get started, I just have a reminder for everyone. Please remember that desmoid tumors are very complex. The information shared during this webinar is not intended as medical advice for any individual problem or as a treatment plan. This information should not be used as a substitute for professional medical advice and services. Please do not delay in seeking professional medical advice regarding your individual circumstances. Okay, so let's see. Let me pull up these questions that we got. All right, so Jesse, so here's the first question. Do you have any suggestions for how I can access supportive resources for cancer patients, even though desmoid tumors aren't considered cancer?
Yes. So some of the things that I mentioned earlier, you may be able to ask your doctor, caseworker, or a social worker what supportive and integrative resources are available at your hospital. That your health department might be able to refer you to local resources. There are links in the resources document that can help you to find other integrative resources. Other patients and friends are great resources to help find, to connect, especially in the Desmoidian group. And DTRF has a patient resource page that has some helpful tools on it and links.
That's great, thank you. And we're actually working on building out a new website now. I'm not sure if I told you that, Jesse, but within the next couple months we'll be launching, and we'll have the patient resources section in there as well. Okay, so we have another question here. One of our attendees says, "What are some steps I can take to improve my sleep?"
Yeah, that's a big one for most of us. So I encourage you to start by implementing some of the healthy sleep habits, sleep hygiene, and then, like I said, if that is not enough and you're still experiencing trouble sleeping, then reach out to a pain specialist and a sleep specialist. They can both help. If pain is a factor, which I think it is for a lot of desmoid patients, I encourage you to not be afraid to take pain medicines to help sleep. For me personally, for a while, I didn't want to take pain medicine because I was afraid of maybe getting addicted, but I found that getting sleep was so important. Some of the most important habits that you can implement are a consistent schedule, and so going to bed, but basically getting up, going to bed at the same time, getting that morning sunlight and decreasing the artificial lights in the evening, and basically creating optimal conditions for you to fall asleep at night, to have routines to unwind, that mental white space I talked about, anything that helps you to wind down.
Okay. And we have another question. Do you have any specific recommendations for desmoid patients? What have you done personally, you, Jesse, that works for you? I know you could probably take a half an hour to answer this question.
Yeah, so I tried a lot of different things. I'll just mention a few of the things that I've found had a really big impact on my well-being personally. Prioritizing rest and sleep. Like I mentioned, for a long time, I was just always tired, especially after having kids. And I just was kind of a go person. And I used to work night shifts, and that really threw me off. And so really prioritizing rest and sleep has been big. Personally, with movement, I think I over-focused on cardio for a while, which was really draining. So shifting my focus to muscle building and flexibility has helped a lot. Also reducing my social network. I'm much more of an introvert, and I think I was spread too thin for so long that through the desmoid journey, I found that focusing on improving my most important relationships has been really important. I love using a sauna and a bath, and using both of those as times for that mental white space.
I love that. Okay, so we have another question. I find it hard to balance what I want and need to do for my health with what I have to do day to day to make a living. How do you recommend I find time to integrate this work?
Yes, great question. I think that's a struggle for all of us, for sure. I think that starting with one small step at a time, and that's where going back to that change process, don't feel like you have to have all these areas strong. Start with one thing that you can do, and build on that. And you may be able to let go of some things in your life that aren't as important. I think, especially when we're going through a healing time, it's really important to draw boundaries around what we will and won't do, and say no to anything, any expectations, whether they're our own expectations or those of others, that aren't absolutely necessary. And ask for help from family and friends. Let them know where you're at. And this might also be an opportunity to really stack those habits. So when your time is limited and your energy is limited, stacking, like I said, going on a walk with a friend, you can get the benefits of nature, connection, movement. If you're cooking, bring your kids, bring your spouse in, try to make it an activity that is also part of with the family, so that you can have some help and so that you are kind of multitasking.
And I think you said when we were speaking the other day that you had a friend who was really, really busy, and she had children, and she would invite people over to sit while she cooked or did the dishes or fold laundry. Like, that's such a great idea. Great example
oh my
of
goodness,
stacking, right?
That was an eye-opener for me, because we had babies and toddlers at that point, and I still was hesitant to invite people over when the house was a mess. And she would just say, to her group of friends, few of us, come on over while I'm folding my laundry, washing the dishes, and hang out with me. And it felt so warm and kind and real to be invited into the details of somebody else's life. And it showed me that really it's important to invest in those relationships that let us be authentic, where we can show up with our hair a mess and our PJs with laundry everywhere while our kids are melting down.
Right. It's like that half an hour together is almost more valuable than like a 3-hour dinner when you're dressed so proper in this restaurant or whatever. It's a great way to get very quickly, I guess, right?
Yes, you can be more real and comfortable.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. Okay, we have another question. I struggle with low energy. How can I add exercise when getting through the day is hard enough?
Start small, maybe so small that it seems silly. So when you get out of the bed in the morning, bend down and touch your toes. And once that's a habit, maybe you can add in a squat, and then maybe you could do a push-up and just build on that. Start really small. If you walk to the mailbox to get your mail, maybe the next time you could walk down the street, or just go a little bit farther each time. But I really encourage you to find activities that you love, that are fun and that feel good, that don't drain you too much. And be easy on yourself, because when you're healing, and especially when you're going through the intense phase of treatments, our body's needs are different, and it's really important to prioritize that rest and sleep so that you can heal. And I mentioned for me, when it came to adding an exercise, I actually needed to personally decrease cardio, because I found that that was draining my energy when I was already exhausted, and just do some basic, like lifting a couple weights or doing some stretching. So basically start small in ways that feel good, and give yourself plenty of grace.
I love that. Okay, so I just wanted to, before we wrap up, Jessie, I wanted to just share a quick comment. Someone says, thank you, Jessie, for sharing that taking time to have a bath, how relaxing and reflective that can be. Also, how important relationships are. The fewer, the better, right?
Yeah. Well, especially for us introverts. Now, each person is different with their relational needs. Extroverts tend to gain energy from time with others, and introverts tend to need more of their own time to energize. So each have to find that sweet spot. But yeah, I think that really focusing on those relationships that bring you energy and joy, and that you can be yourself. And
yeah, that's really
thank you for that comment.
Yeah. So do you have any final thoughts that you want to share, Jessie, before we wrap up?
I think one other thing I wanted to mention, and this is in the resources, so I won't go into it, but I know stress is such a big part of all of our lives. And so there's a page in the resources that details it a little bit more. But when thinking about stress, I think there's four approaches that are helpful. The first one that I had mentioned is decreasing demands. So communicate your needs, limit your commitments, let go of expectations, say no. Any way that you can decrease the demands on you, especially when you're healing, is really important. You can also increase your capacity for stress by investing in your energy with some of the lifestyle changes that we talked about, getting rest, sleep, nutrition, some exercise, and by managing your energy throughout the day. So that might mean taking a nap, taking a minute to meditate, taking that time to unwind at the end of the day. And there's a really great TED Talk, Kelly McConigal, How to Make Stress Your Friend. And she talks about how our mindset around stress actually impacts the way it physically affects us. And I thought that was really helpful, because she talks about if we think that stress is going to negatively impact us, it's more likely to, but if we embrace it as part of a normal part of life, then we're less likely to be negatively impacted by it. And the last thing I want to say on stress is that connection piece is really big. So having quality relational connection can help us get through these stressful periods. It's been shown that positive connection can increase the hormone oxytocin and decrease stress hormones like cortisol. And physical touch has been shown to decrease subjective reports of pain. So just keep that in mind, because I know that's something that we all deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so great, Jesse. I know you mentioned that webinar participants will be receiving some resources around behavior change and general support. Just a reminder to everyone that we'll be sending those out tomorrow morning. All webinar attendees, just keep your eyes on your inboxes tomorrow. So Jesse, thank you so much for such a comprehensive presentation about health and well-being. Of course, we also thank the Desmoid community for joining us. And just a reminder to everyone that we will be sharing a recording of this webinar after it's edited. That usually takes about 2 weeks. Please visit dtrf.org to subscribe to our mailing list if you haven't already, so that you receive the notification when it is public. And just one more thing before we wrap up, be sure to join us for the DTRF's Together We Will weekend from Friday, September 22nd to Sunday, September 24th in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We are live again this year. You can learn more at our website at dtrf.org. So once again, Jess, thank you. A little virtual applause. And we wish everyone a good night. Thank you.
Night.
Bye-bye.